and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'm Dr. Cheryl. I'm an author, entrepreneur, and speaker of wealth transformation, integrity, 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 and most of all, with unconditional love. We need unconditional love more than ever today, especially this season of giving and receiving. And remember, unconditional love is non-judgmental, and be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your love. So this afternoon, we have a very special guest. His name is Mark Allen Grainger. This is the second part of a two-part discussion with Mark. Mark Allen Grainger, he simply has a way with crowds as a keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, or a master of ceremonies. Mark Allen Grainger conveys an inspirational and humorous message of gender roles, self-empowerment, and personal responsibility that causes people to lean forward and feel. Mark provides inspiring content, resources, and tools for women to stand strong in their opinion. His heartfelt stories and powerful language weaves an inspirational experience perfect for motivated leaders struggling to find their personal and professional identity. Because Mark strives to inspire and transform his audience, they'll embrace his message and remember its impact for years to come. While studying to become a marriage and family therapist and obsessed by the need for deeper understanding of gender roles, Mark witnessed that women's power lies in the authentic expression of her heart. He realized that for women to step fully into this required tremendous courage, personal reinvention, and a powerful strategy. It is designed specifically to handle the pushback from men and society. Mark instantly knew his destiny lied on another path, so he left graduate school and reinvented his own self of facing his biggest fears. Stepped back to evaluate his business and realized that over 85% of his best clients were ambitious women and entrepreneurs and executives. As the creator of the two-day transformational experience, The Persuasion Equation, the new anti-sales model for getting paid for what you're worth, Mark brings a more intimate and authentic model to business he calls the heart-centered influence formula. He lives his passion supporting women to be deeply seen and appreciated for their unique gifts while working in collaboration to create a rocking vision that fulfills her inner calling to transform self, community, and culture. Mark is the author of two books, The Inspirational Communicator and the ebook, I Can, I Will, Therefore I Must. So, since you're following your passion and your purpose, where do you find your true wealth?
My true wealth is, honestly, my true wealth is when I find that I'm able to serve people to the greatest good. And that service comes from, and this is a dance that I'm just really feeling like I'm getting my momentum in. And it really, for me, it's when I'm on the stage. When I'm on the stage and I'm able to allow myself to not be in my mind, but to be willing to say something risky, something vulnerable. And I can see that the crowd is being moved by it. Whether they're laughing their asses off, or whether they're crying, there is something about that. And then it also goes to my one-on-one connections. There's something around the connection with people where I feel like I am walking that spiritual path, because it does two things. One, I'm in the role of student and teacher at the same time, and so are they. And when you understand this beautiful dance of teacher is student and student is teacher, and there is no hierarchy, there is just this connection, there is something really rewarding about that. And everything else, the problems go away, and you start to see that all that really matters is this moment and this connection.
Well, I believe exactly what you're saying, and everyone that comes into our life is a teacher and student.
Absolutely.
And I'm a teacher and I'm a student. And I just want to keep learning and teaching for the rest of my life.
Me too.
But it's that dance. You're right, and that's really important. And once you recognize that, but see, we need to evolve our egos. When your egos, when you can let go of your egos, and I know that you've worked hard at that, especially being a male.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like letting go of your ego, because then you're free.
Right.
You know, the judgments from other people won't really matter.
That's right.
You know, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. It's like, you know, especially with the challenges that are happening right now, it's like, you know, as I say, and I keep preaching this or saying this over and over, is loving yourself unconditionally. There's non-judgmental. When you love unconditionally, and I know people will probably debate this, and that's okay, but it's unconditionally loving yourself, so you stop judging yourself.
I think when people hear that, though, Cheryl, I think, and this has been part of my path, is that it sounds wonderful, but then people go, well, how do I do that? And people are really put into the situation of, okay, unconditional love does, you know, then
I'm
you get
glad you're saying
then you
this.
get into this space to where the ego actually kicks back in, and you're doubting your ability to love yourself. You don't know how, because you've never really been
But
taught.
See, this is where the key of, if one needs to take inventory of your mental thoughts,
Yes.
that dialogue or monologue that goes on in your own head. Because if you're thinking negative thoughts about yourself, then that's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is when you're up against some huge challenge, you are not putting yourself down. You're not saying, what did I do wrong? You're not saying those, you know, oh, I'm not good enough, or, you know, you don't say those things.
And I think that I think that people would agree with you, and the challenge is in the moment that they're hearing about unconditional love, they're recognized that they still are beating themselves up. I still beat myself up. I still have negative self-talk. I still have, and it's something I've been working on for years.
So, you know,
so to me, there isn't I don't know if there ever really is a final destination where that goes away.
Well,
I think there becomes a different. I think there becomes a different relationship with it, and you learn how to turn the volume down, and you do change it,
switch it off,
and you do change it.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're not there right now, I mean, the people that are watching this, if you're not at a place of unconditional love, the key is to just realize that that's an illusion. That you are at a place of unconditional love, but you just got to turn off. You're just
absolutely.
You're in this little phase where your brain is moving, and just
it's also
turn it off.
important, and I talk about this when I speak in front of groups of people. It's also very important to put "I love myself unconditionally" on your mirror.
Absolutely.
And leave it there for at least a month or 20. You know, some people say, Deepak Chopra says 21 days. Mm-hmm. You know, psychologists say 28 days. Because then it'll get into your subconscious mind.
Well, I think the most important thing for people to understand is it's not so much the words. Words are very
feeling.
important.
It's
the emotion. And so throughout the day, if you can put your hand on, even just right now, put your hand on your heart.
Oh, absolutely.
When you do that, it breaks the ego,
right,
and it takes you to a space of feeling. And you know, and gratitude is one of the highest vibrations you can get.
Absolutely.
So I strongly believe in a full body gratitude flood as much as you possibly can.
Oh, absolutely.
Every day. And
absolutely.
those are the things,
and
those little rituals are the things that take away that
absolutely.
That self-talk.
And it takes conscious effort to do that.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to get negative. I mean, for
yeah.
me, it's not anymore, because I've been working so hard to be positive no matter what, and to stay there. I mean, it is, you know, I don't do it 24 hours, you know, I don't do it 60 minutes, 60 seconds every, you know, minute in every day, 24 hours a day. But I pretty much get myself back on there, because it's a waste of energy.
That's right.
And it's negative.
That's right.
So that's where it's so important to. That's why I keep saying unconditional.
And I think the biggest thing that I would like for people to know around that is you are reinforcing a false sense of self. That is not who you are.
Exactly.
The negative self-talk, the questions that you have, that is not who you really are. And so catch yourself and notice how you're reinforcing this part that is not you.
You know, one exercise I did many years ago when I first got on this wavelength of doing this, or this discipline, or this awareness, is because I wanted to set an example for my daughter. Whenever I'd start thinking negative thoughts about myself, I'd catch myself and I'd say, stop! I'd scream it out.
Nice. I'd
scream it out, because I wanted my inside of my subconscious, my unconscious mind to get it. So I once in a while I still have to do that if I start going there. But you know what? It takes discipline of your mind. Right. But our mind is the first thing, then our heart. And once your heart kicks in, then you got it.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it's a constant discipline. It's a constant awareness. It's,
Be good to you is my mantra.
Be good to you.
Be good to you.
Yeah.
People just need to really, really treat themselves the way they would treat their dog.
Yeah, and I know.
Give yourself a pet, scratch yourself on the back, and tell yourself you're a good boy or a good girl. We don't do that enough.
So what's the conversation that you have with yourself and others about wealth, manifesting wealth?
I would say now more than ever, and I don't know if it's because of I used to be very money focused. That was when I was in the corporate world. I had the suit and tie and the whole 9 yards, and I was good. I learned to become effective at selling, but I still was coming at it from a very heart-centered space. But I was, now I think wealth is really more redefined as all types of abundance, because if you have wealth in the bank, but you don't have wealth in your heart or in your relationships, you're miserable. So I think that wealth is really being redefined. Money.
That's why I'm talking about wealth transformation.
Yeah.
Because wealth is in so many things, and especially with all of, almost every week I see more criminal things happening around money, and it isn't just in the U.S. It's all over the globe. Barclays in India, in Japan, all over the planet. It's all coming to the surface and to me, it's an unconscious longing for spiritual balance.
Absolutely.
Look at Bernie Madoff. He's going to rot in jail. Bless his soul. He made his karma. He's living it out.
That's right.
And he hurt a lot of people. But it's like, to me, it's spiritual. Lack of spirituality. But
I think and there's a lot of people right now that are suffering financially, and I think a lot of those people are being called to learn how to handle that, because they're going to be part of the people that are helping us teach, because fundamentally the economic system is broken.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a masculine masculine structure that is antiquated and doesn't work. And I really believe we're moving to a space where we're really going to be more back to a bartering system.
Absolutely. Well, I was telling
where we're living in a community,
absolutely.
and in that community you have people that are great at growing corn. You have people that are great at creating sewage systems. You have people that are great at taking care of children, and you will go to these people because that's where they go. They're excellent at what they do, and they fit that need for you, and you have a need for them. There probably will always be some kind of money exchange of some sort, but it's not going to be what the world runs on anymore.
Or maybe it's not money; it's some other,
Yeah,
just like
it'd be,
in China,
the
first exchange was bartering.
That's
so
right.
I
think we're a long ways off from that, but I think that we're starting the consciousness of that kind of world.
Absolutely, and that's why I talk about it. I talk about bartering because, I barter too now, and I'm having a challenge financially, big challenge, but I know that I'm not going to go bankrupt. I know that I won't be.
That's right.
I've already done that.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing for people to understand is when they're challenged, whether it's financially or not, is that the real spiritual lesson behind that is everything's going to be okay.
And trusting.
And learning to trust that. And it's hard because when you have all these bills due and all this pressure, and you're like, it's really about being able to breathe into it and trust that you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And that there again, it's forcing people to go beyond the material.
That's right.
Into the to the spiritual realm.
Absolutely.
And beyond, because we have so much energy that we're not using because of that.
That's exactly right.
And
in a lot of ways, I think what happens is people go, I need to stop being spiritual and I need to go make money because I got to pay the rent, I got to pay the doctor bills, I got to have my health insurance, and we think we got to have all these things together. And there's this belief. There's this ongoing belief that we have to have certain things in place to take care of us. And while that's a very left brain, linear, take care of yourself, have 6 months of savings in the bank, and all that makes things very practical, and you can end up on the street.
Yeah.
We do not know what is in our own best interest.
And I talk about that in my book. I talk about metaphysics.
Beautiful.
Because that's what this is about, is metaphysics. And, maybe they're not quite ready for it yet, but that, to me, that's because I went back into the corporate world and I was just appalled on how much unethical and lack of integrity that was happening. And I don't play those games.
They're under group mind. They don't know another way of doing it.
And it's like, wake up. That's why I call my show Wake Up.
I like it.
Wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, everyone.
That's good. So.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's a whole nother dynamic of conversation for men and women on this whole subject too, with dealing with money.
Yes.
And traditionally women are actually more administrative. They're good about money. Men have been traditionally, they make the money,
right,
and the women manage it. I mean, that's traditional, which, it should be a balance.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important conversations for couples to have is, and it has to be driven by women because it involves vulnerability, and men have a challenge going there.
Yes.
So, but women need to, demand is kind of the strong word. I mean, we say insist on total equality at home. And what that means is when we get together, and this comes back to my work in gender roles, is that we don't define our gender roles. We take them on without talking about them. And then there's the unspoken communication that occurs, which is you're supposed to do this, and I'm supposed to be this way. And it's not talked about, it's not agreed upon. And so there really needs to be the ability to get really clear as to what are our roles and what are your roles, and an acceptance and an agreement in both of those. Because when you can have that agreement frame, now you've created a foundation where there isn't resentment, there isn't confusion, and there isn't assumption operating in a place that eventually is going to become problematic.
And one thing that I want to say about that is I think that when you are truly coming from your true authentic self, that you take the time to see what the other person's qualities or weaknesses, I don't like to use the word weakness, but maybe you don't like to do something, and maybe your partner can do something. Mm-hmm. So it has nothing to do with gender.
Right.
It has absolutely nothing to do.
The whole thing of woman's work doesn't exist.
No. It's like, because I'm Miss Fix-It. I like fixing things. I like working on the computer. Yes, I'm really good at doing that, but I love cooking too. So it's like, okay, but it's finding out what your likes and your dislikes. That's and exactly what right. Can work, how you can work together.
I think living by intention and designing your life is critical. And that requires you to have an uncommon conversation with your partner and to have it consistently. That's something that people just haven't really thought about before,
Well, I guess maybe the successful long-term relationships have. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I
don't know. It depends on how you define successful, because I see a lot of long-term relationships that they're not very happy, but they've been together for years. They're not living fulfillment. They're not doing the things to get their gifts out into the world, and they're stuck in this what they think is supposed to be a great marriage, great partnership,
right.
and
it's really paradigm.
And it's an old paradigm. So to me, I think some of the most liberating things you can do is be willing to get really clear on what it is that you're called to do in this world, and don't let anything get in the way.
Yeah, absolutely, and has no gender definition.
Right. Absolutely.
That's just like what I'm doing now, and I'm not getting paid for this, but I'm hoping that
it's a labor of love.
Yeah, I'm doing it because it's my purpose and passion, and I'm really hoping that it'll go beyond this. And yes, I can monetize it. I mean, I'm being honest.
Absolutely.
Because this is what I would be doing this 24/7.
I have a colleague of mine who is probably one of the most powerful spiritual teachers I've ever met. Within moments, she's able to take a stranger, get right to their issues, and help them make some shifts. Mm-hmm. And and I said to her, and she's hurting financially, and I said, well, you need to start charging for your services.
Yeah.
And I said, well, she was like, well, I have to call I have to call my client. And I said, well, what are you charging your client? Well, nothing. And I said, well, then she's a friend.
Yeah.
And she got done, and I said, one of the things you can do is, rather than putting a value to it, when you're done, just say, this is how I make my living. Whatever this is
Right.
worth to you, I
Right.
take donations.
Right.
And so she worked with this woman who was in a bad place over the phone, worked with her for a full hour and completely shifted where she was at. And the woman saying, and she said to her, did you get value out of what we did today? Did you make a shift? Oh yeah, wonderful, excellent. Well, I want you to know this was work. And I stepped away from other things that could generate revenue to help you.
Right.
So I'm not going to charge you for this. I'm just going to say it would be great if you could go to PayPal and whatever it's worth, you pay it. Yeah. And the lady said, I have a savings account for medical, and they haven't done anything for me, and they don't care, and you're shifting my life. And she went and made a nice size deposit for her.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
the new paradigm.
And that's the new paradigm.
It is.
I know.
I know.
Talk about
people.
Trusting and talk about trusting.
That's yes.
But people understand that you too have you have bills and things you need to be responsible for, and that it's about. I think the biggest thing that I heard in Lynn Twist tells this beautiful story. I'll try to make it really, really short. But she said that she went into, and Lynn Twist, her first thing that she did was she was a fundraiser for the Hunger Project. And so she had gone to this small little place in Harlem. It was a rainy night, and she went down into this church, and there was buckets that were kind of catching some of the water, and there was almost predominantly, I think she was the only white woman there, almost all black people. And she said she gets done telling all about the Hunger Project, and this one woman stood up, and she was, kind of in a nurse's uniform, and she was tall and a little bit older and very regal. And she says, I like you, and I like what you stand for. And she's all, money is very interesting. She's all, for me, it's just like a little trickle. For other people, it's like a river. But money doesn't belong to any of us. It flows in and out. It flows in and out of our lives. Yeah. And I think what a lot of people are doing, a lot of people that are fighting what the world is telling them, is they are stockpiling their money, and they're trying to keep it because there's a fear, because there's a fear base. Now they may have a lot of it, but they're afraid it's going to go away. So you're always going to have a challenge with money. Either not going to have enough, or once you make it, you're going to be afraid you're going to lose it.
And that's
so
fear.
the key is to being able to allow money to flow in and out of your life, and trusting that if it flows out, it's just around the corner. Why? Because you let the floodgates open and you let it go. And who knows? You have no idea whose life it impacted, how it impacted, how it shifted their life, and how they needed it a hell of a lot more than your bank account did.
Yeah, you're right.
And so that's really the key, is understanding that it's this ebb and flow, and that it's not the accumulation of stuff, it's not the accumulation of things. It's the accumulation of great experiences and serving people.
And the heart space, and feeling that love, unconditional love inside yourself, so you can share it with others.
That's exactly right.
That's what it's all about. No matter what, that's what
exactly
it's all about. Oh, this has been really good, Mark. I know we could probably go on
for hours.
Yeah. And so, what would be a good or the best suggestion that you could give our viewers about having spiritual application to wealth?
I think two things. One is make a commitment to tithe. And what I mean by that is it's really simple to write a check to charity. But what I mean is giving a minimum of 10% to whatever nourishes you spiritually, whether that's your church or a spiritual teacher or whatever nourishes you spiritually. Be willing to really stretch yourself to do that consistently. And number two, I think it's really important to have a daily practice. And realize
daily
that
practice.
And what I mean by that is, and also don't look at wealth as just money. Look at it as abundance in everything: abundant health, abundant sex, abundant joy, abundant laughter, abundant happiness. Everything that you're abundant health, you need to be doing the things that bring you abundance in all areas of your life, and the money will be there. And that's what I'm showing up in my life, is that when I focus on taking the time, I start every day with 4 basic things: silence, movement, nutrition, and gratitude.
That's the first thing, gratitude. To me, that's the most important thing. Be grateful for what you have, because if you're not grateful for what you have, you won't get any more.
Well, and part of what allows you to create the space for gratitude is that you take some time to move your body. because our energy gets stuck in our body, so we need to move it. We need to take time to quiet our mind and shut it down because it gets moving so long. I love yoga. Yoga is my favorite.
Meditation.
And then nutrition. What you put into your mouth.
Absolutely.
What you put into your mouth and how you feel your body matters.
Well, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
That's exactly right.
Our bodies are our temples.
That's exactly right.
And, I've said that for a long time.
So I mean, and this is what's amazing to me, Cheryl, is this conversation that you and I are having has probably become now 85% of the time I have a conversation with anyone. This is the conversation. And the ones that I'm not having this conversation with generally are the people that I love and adore, that are my family and my older friends, that we're locked into an older consciousness of how we relate.
The old paradigm.
The old paradigm. And so I find myself challenged and called to bring in as little as I can and to bring in a different conversation. But notice when you go home at Thanksgiving or go home at Christmas, how the same arguments, the same conversations, the same habits, the same people are all doing the same thing that they've done for the last 15, 20 years. And how could you plant a seed that creates a different conversation? Even if it ruffles some feathers, that's even better. Because just be willing to be willing to drop a pebble into the pond and create a ripple. Nice.
So one little step.
That's exactly right.
One little step.
That's
you know?
exactly
I mean,
right.
I'm grateful.
Absolutely.
Because it's my only brother.
Absolutely.
You know,
And I think the last thing I'd like to leave your audience with is that when there's a disappointment, a distaste, really the best thing you can do is go to a new operating system within and really frame it as not real.
It's not my reality. It's their
reality.
reality.
No, what I'm saying is that it's just a thought. I mean, another way of looking at it is that the people in our life may not even be real. They're a projection of our own thinking. They're a projection of our own consciousness.
Well, that's
so everything is a projection of our own consciousness,
yes,
and only here to give us feedback on how to have more love, more tenderness in our life. And so when you have something that creates a little discord within you, or a little disappointment within you, frame it as what am I doing
that's
not real? What am I doing in here to create meaning?
Absolutely.
And then realize that while we may be creating meaning on what feels good and what's juicy in our life, but that is what's real. That's who we really are. That's the vibration of life. And our whole goal is to amp up that, have practices that amp that up so that becomes the space that we start to look through the world from.
Yeah, and be there 24/7.
That's right. Well, we already are.
Yeah.
It's about removing the barriers to recognizing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much.
Beautiful work.
This has been...
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work.
Thank you for your work. Thank you. This has been great.
Thank you very much.
I'm so glad you're here.
Namaste.
Namaste to you too.